All right, good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Challenges in the Streets, coming at you live from the Training Academy here. A little bit different today. Instead of talking about a single event, we put together a group of individuals here on a panel to talk about all things EMS, changes to EMS duty officer responses, EMS 700, some new initiatives, etc. Before I turn it over, two quick reminders for command officers. If you are looking for credit, again, no need to sign in with your ID number in the chat. Just go to the Command Comp's webpage, fill out the form. However, I will be monitoring the chat, so for those of you watching live, if you have any EMS-related questions that you would like to pass on to the panel today, excellent time to ask those questions. I will pass them on as they come across. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Cap Machala, and he will introduce the panel.
All right, thanks, Chief. And again, thank you, everybody, for joining us on another episode of Challenges in the Streets. So our EMS update episodes, as we have found, tend to be some of our more popular episodes. A lot of people want to know what's coming down the pipe, what's happened, and what's going to happen next. So I think the last one we did was maybe 6 or 9 months ago, kind of before a lot of these changes happened and in preparation for that. So since a lot of these changes have come to the EMS world, some things have come up, some concerns, just general feedback. So I think that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. So it is scheduled for 60 minutes. We'll try to keep this episode as close to 60 minutes as possible. Again, if it goes a few minutes over, just bear with us, but we're going to try to keep it right there. If we don't get to your questions, we'll try to get to as many of them as possible. We'll try to get you answers via email as quickly as we can. So our panel, on to my right here is Battalion Chief Tony Scott, the EMIHS Quality Management Battalion Chief. We have Chief Pete Dugan, Battalion Chief Pete Dugan. He's the EMIHS Operations Battalion Chief. And then Lieutenant Ben Jeffrey is joining us as a Battalion 1B Float Lieutenant, basically just to kind of help us have some dialogue from, a lot of these changes are focused on paramedics. We talked about that a lot of times, a lot of ALS changes. So we like to get some feedback from a non-paramedic officer where the changes don't really affect him personally because he's not an ALS provider, but he's hearing a lot of the feedback and maybe has some additional considerations as a non-paramedic officer out in the field. So he's just going to be another member of the panel to kind of help get some good dialogue. So we're going to start off with Chief Dugan. He's going to kind of intro and just give us some background on what we're going to talk about and get to. He's got a little PowerPoint we'll go through and so ask questions as you see fit as we go along. Chief?
Thank you very much, first of all, to the entire crew here of inviting us to this session. Recognize that we haven't been on in a while, and it was a good time to come on board. Also want to thank you to Ben Jeffrey for coming on board with us. We were looking down the roll to see who would be good. We thought a good non-paramedic officer, float pool, and he was immediately responded to me, and so greatly appreciate that. So everybody knows right now that there's been a lot of changes in EMIHS. The first thing that has changed over the past 3 to 4 months is the addition of myself and also Chief Tony Scott. So I have taken over for Chief Kaufman's position. He took on the assistant chief's role. And also when Chief Burns got promoted, Tony Scott came on board with us. So if I can just have slide number 1 come on. So I'm not sure if anybody really knows on how much where we fit in the organizational chart, and what does that organizational chart look like. So on the screen here is exactly where we fall. Everything within EMIHS, whether it's quality management, all the way down to the duty officers, all falls under operations under Chief Cooper. Obviously, Chief Kaufman is the assistant chief, and he's in charge of Chief Tony Scott and myself, along with Office of Medical Oversight and Mobile Integrated Health. So Chief Scott, he's in charge of the quality assurance and quality improvement, who is Nick Wagner, who's our quality improvement. And new to the team as well is Zach Grossman as our quality assurance officer. From an operational standpoint, I'm in charge of the 7 captain duty officers, and each captain has an assigned lieutenant along there. So that is something new. We never really had an organizational chart within the EMIHS world, but this was kind of Chief Kaufman's vision, is that we would actually have some form of hierarchy. So that's definitely one of the biggest changes. Obviously, Tony and I knew the duty officer deployment. That's a brand new as well. Historically in Montgomery County, we've gone from 1 duty officer to 2 duty officers to 3, back down to 1, up to 2, you name it. So we are now up to 4. We definitely would love to have the 5th one. I know it's on the master plan, but right now, from a budgetary standpoint, it's 4. So I think on the slide number, there we go. We have we've had to shuffle all of the duty officer response areas. So if you remember back in before July, we had EMS 4, we had EMS 3, and EMS 2. And now that we have shuffled all the units around, we definitely had a big gap in coverage in the northern end of the county. So EMS 702 moved up to EMS 705 to be run out of Station 34. And we added EMS 701 to run out of Station 19. So that's another big change. We've also shuffled around who each duty officer liaises with. I believe we sent this out back in July, but certainly from a change standpoint, I could see why people would be confused as to what's going on today. So this is definitely something important that we would like to bring to the table today.
Yeah, and I think it's important for people to realize, because sometimes I think it seems like, oh, well, we just put EMS 702 in service. Now they're moving, like we just move people around. And I'm sure you're going to talk about this later on, but with some of the changes to the EMS duty officers, they've been added to certain call types, and they now are the primary, they're required to be a dispatch unit on certain call types. So by having that huge geographic gap in the north side of the county, I'm assuming it created some issues for potential response times going on those calls. So that shuffle is part of that, because we know where the call load is in the county, generally following the Beltway up 270. But because of these large geographic expanses, I'm assuming it helped with a lot of that to geographically move that up to Battalion 5, correct?
Absolutely. Great segue into duty officers on calls.
Perfect.
So
it's like I previewed the PowerPoint.
I was about to say,
I didn't. Like you sent it to me, and I didn't.
So historically, when I first started being a duty officer, you didn't get dispatched on anything. I'm sorry, and it was all self-dispatch. You look at the comments, and you run whatever call that you think would be important to run. Over the past several years, we started getting dispatched on cardiac arrest and agitated patients. Obviously, cardiac arrest, there's a reason for us to be there. A lot of people ask why we were dispatched on agitated patients. For the most part, that was because the national news, you see a lot of these cases make it to the front page of the Washington Post on how calls didn't go very well because of an agitated patient, most likely due to some kind of mental health issue. So we added the agitated patient. Over the past several months, Chief Scott and I worked together on adding new dispatches to the duty officers. That was not to give them more work. I think they are definitely very busy right now. But with the new implementation of the blood program, that's kind of where we focused on. We'll talk about it as well. But yes, Chief Scott, if you want to go into how we kind of generated the new dispatches and what they are.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So when me and Pete were like sitting down figuring out what we wanted, our actual 2 main goals we were looking at were the incident types that the duty officer can make a clinical benefit on, stuff like blood, vents, POCUS, stuff like that, right? The other side of that coin was that we were also very much looking at where exactly do we need that kind of more of that command level presence from that duty officer for multiple patients, complicated patients, MCIs, right? So we were very much looking at stuff like shooting, stabbings, penetrating trauma, complicated PICs, more so for the medical side, specifically blood. And then we were also looking at house fires, hazmats, stuff like that for the patient care command level presence type goal.
Do you happen to remember how many call types that we added?
So we ended up adding, I want to say it was close to 72 or 74 new incident types were added with the duty officers.
From a lieutenant standpoint, did you know what that we were adding these at all? Did we communicate it well or not?
I wouldn't necessarily say it was communicated. It was just noticeable. Obviously, we started seeing EMS duty officers either responding, self-dispatching initially, and then they started getting just added to calls over a period of time. So it was definitely noticeable, but I wouldn't say it was communicated. But obviously, that is the case now. So.
And that's an area that we can improve upon, of course.
Of course,
is getting that all out there.
Yeah.
We often hear about that.
I mean, I'll say as another non-medic officer, and you say if you've seen the same things, I mean, having that EMS duty officer on, and I'm sure, and maybe some of the field medics can chime in too on the chat or whatever, but at least like I don't have any capability to provide supervision to my paramedic, no matter who it is, in terms of the clinical care that they're providing, right? Because I'm not trained to that level. I can provide oversight, right? I can be in charge of the scene and the full call. But when it comes to one of those more complicated calls where, you know, some kind of trauma or whatever it is, I can help manage the scene. But to me, it's a little bit more reassuring to have that additional layer of not necessarily supervision. I don't want to call it supervision because nobody wants to micromanage or babysit when they do that, but another set of eyes. Yeah. Even with a second medic, like I've heard a lot of medics say, oh man, I wish we had 2 medic units. It's just nice to have that extra person with the same level of training to bounce stuff off of. So even on an ALS-1 shooting or stabbing or whatever, you're not really filling a second medic role for the call type, but you are that second set of eyes and everything. Just, hey, did you think about this, right? I mean, do you see, like, do you think medics are benefiting from that? Like, have you heard any feedback? Or?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, at least when an EMS duty officer responds, it kind of helps with the integrity of the call. It helps you, at least for medics on cardiac arrest, those ALS-2 call types, when I'm kind of back, kind of helping the family out, all that kind of stuff, for the EMS duty officer to come in there and be that third set of eyes on that particular incident, just helping make sure everything gets squared away. You know, you have 3 people instead of just 2, who those 2 providers are super busy, typically on a cardiac arrest, trying to do the airway, the meds, all that kind of stuff. To have that third set of eyes, like you said, just to see any potential what they might have missed or those kinds of things, it's definitely beneficial.
Yeah, and they're looking at the clinical big picture while we're looking at the scene big picture. You said help assisting with the family and all that stuff.
I take care of the scene, they take care of the patient. Right. I see that.
Yeah. And that's right there in the operational doctrine. Never want anybody to lose focus on the fact that whether it's an EMS call or all the way up to a working fire, there is an incident commander on every single incident. And that officer does run that scene. And although, yeah, you may not know all the clinical components of it all, certainly you all can bring your experience to these levels. Obviously, some of the medics will be much younger than you, may not have run as many calls. Maybe that medic just got checked off. So, but definitely you all bring a lot to the table. And certainly it's nice to hear that the duty officers do. I know I was fortunate enough to do it for 10 years. And my goal overall was never to take over the call. And I'm hoping that's not the case out in the field, which I don't think it is. But my goal was always to just make that crew's day go just a little better. Oftentimes, I see the crew doing a good job. Maybe I talk to the family or something like that. So
yeah, absolutely, makes sense.
So yeah, no, definitely could have communicated that better with the new dispatches. I can be honest. I know sometimes when I showed up as a duty officer and an officer would look at me and say, "Oh yeah, I forgot to put you in service." Yeah, I may have rolled my eyes at one time, but at the same time, we also recognize how much is going on.
Right.
I just worked Battalion 1 this past weekend, and we ran a call, and I didn't put the duty officer in service. So it's just, a lot does happen.
Sure.
We recognize
Easy
that.
to forget sometimes.
It is. EMS 700. So let's talk about something that's changed significantly over the last 4 years. And there's a lot of people out there that doesn't know when we do EMS 700. It's gone from 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to 5 days a week, 7 to 5, and now we're back up to 7 days. So I got a slide I think it was slide number 3. So recently we just changed it to from Monday to Friday, and it's from 0900 hours to 2100 hours. So that's 7 days a week. And we polled the permanent duty officers as to what kind of schedule do you want to run the EMS 700. Unfortunately, we lost the EMS 700 role, but we also gained a fourth duty officer out in the field, so it's kind of one of those you give and take there. So the duty officers came up with that with their schedule that they had. Oftentimes I'll hear from people, oh, well, I didn't know that was in service yet, and things like that. The reason the time frame is that's pretty much the hot times of the day. Everybody pays attention to the CAD, and they see things explode right around like 12 to 2 o'clock. So EMS 700 wise, do you who you normally have call them?
So typically the driver of the EMS unit does the initial, at least on BLS incidents, and if it's an ALS call, the medic will get on, because that EMS 700 more so recently has been another set of eyes, at least a set of ears to listen to make sure maybe, hey, try this, if it's this scenario, maybe you could try this, maybe transport to this hospital, check for this, more so for your ALS patients, but for BLS patients, you're really just calling them just to get a hospital destination. And sometimes they answer, sometimes they don't. I understand that they still run calls, or they can still run calls during their time as EMS 700, and I might be mistaken. I know they try not to, but there's some instances. I know Mark Grant, who's EMS 701, had to run a call while he was EMS 700. I don't know if somebody else picks up the phone or whatever during that time, but that's just how we do it. Sometimes they answer, sometimes they don't, but most of the time they're answering. They're giving, good feedback.
So the way that unfolds a lot of times is the expectation is that the duty officer goes on a detail for their period of time, and they run EMS 700. But between the 4 duty officers, if a call goes out in EMS 701's area, one duty officer will call the other and say, hey, look, I've got the radio. You go ahead and run this call, because I'm not going to run it from EMS 703, so that we can get that duty officer on the scene quicker. So things definitely do happen that the field may not even recognize that's going on at any time, but definitely they work as a cohesive team so that we can get EMS 700 coverage. I know the EMS 700 role is quite contentious out in the field. I'm not sure that, do you hear that a lot?
I think it was.
I wouldn't
was
necessarily
for me.
say it now. I think
so.
back then, I think when it was just, I've had run-ins, and not worth mentioning now, but where they would change, for instance, we had a flyout patient. It was actually in 15's area. We had a flyout patient. They gave us an ETA and everything, and during that time, the EMS 700 at the time canceled the Maryland State Trooper, didn't tell the crews on scene, and kind of delayed transport for that reason. So back then, definitely so. But that obviously has changed. Now it's more of a, they're just there to help guide more than anything. But so far it's...
I certainly can't speak to that particular
right,
situation.
but like it's just incidents that have happened before that I'm sure have guided what is now today, where it's more of an assistance rather than an actual dictating patient care, which is what it is now. Which I haven't heard anybody really complain about the current system that we have. As a matter of fact, I think it's pretty good.
Okay.
So.
And I can't speak to it because I didn't have to operate, in that system. Like when I was riding the EMS unit, there was no EMS 700. But I think as an officer, again, like initially I was like, well, this to me, it was like me having to call the battalion chief to clear a fire alarm and be like, is this okay if I reset this fire alarm and leave? That's in my head. I was like processing it. But again, what it's evolved into now and all the benefits that we saw last time and the statistics and stuff like that, the drop times and everything, like, I mean, I don't hear anybody complain about it, and I think it's a great idea. It's working to improve the system, and we've seen that. So I haven't heard much content with it recently.
Speaking from a person that when EMS 700 started, I didn't think we needed it. I mean, I'll be quite honest about that. But watching it unfold over the years, it definitely does work.
And I think initially it was EMS providers in the field thought you were taking away, and some EMS 700 people back then actually did take away from their ability to be able to actually make patient decisions and transport destination, all that kind of stuff. So that they were kind of intruding initially. And again, back to where I think now it's kind of gone away. It's more so just trying to assist more than anything. So
It's a resource, right?
It's a resource.
Which is really what EMS 700, the duty officers, medics, all of us are simply an extra set of like resources for that person riding the right front seat of that transport unit, right? That's what all of us do. Engine companies, squads, ALS, duty officers, command officers. Our whole job is to support that person providing patient care.
So I hear a lot that, oh, well, they don't want us making decisions. I hear that a lot. I mean, I'm pretty fortunate that I get some time out in the field, whether it's just through travels or opportunity to work out in the field. I hear that a lot. And even before I became a battalion chief, I heard it. And we never want to take the brain out of people's minds, heads. We don't. We want you making decisions. And when you do call EMS 700 for whether it's a transport, a refusal, or whatever you need to call for, we want you to have a plan in place. And so if you're looking to go to Suburban Hospital, let us know that. And then I know the way I always did EMS 700, and I hear it on the radio with our duty officers, is it's good to have that conversation back and forth. If they see 7 units at that particular hospital, might have that recommendation to go to Shady Grove or something like that. So, but the biggest thing that I want to bring to the table today regarding EMS 700 is that please don't think that we're trying to take that that brain out of your head. Have a plan. We want you to treat. We want you to have a plan and communicate your plan so that we can have that conversation. And certainly, if you hear otherwise, I'd like to hear about it.
No, it's a good, perfect synopsis of it, I think.
So,
Just for your timing, we're about a third of a way through our time. So,
Okay.
your
Okay, sweet.
you want your progression to be.
sounds good. So, new initiatives. So, I could be honest that when I got into my role, and I've told a lot of people this, that it was like getting on a moving metro train. So it was.
Bing, bong, bing, bong.
Yes, it really was, and please hold on. I've talked to a lot of chief officers that are on the second floor, and whenever they got into that role, their role, it was the exact same thing. There's a lot happening in our department, not just with EMS, and you kind of have to take the reins and move on. So we were very fortunate that we were able to keep Chief Kaufman in the EMIHS section. Mm-hmm. In fact, he's assisted, if not designed a lot of the programs, so he was able to help. I know help me out a lot.
Same here.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
And I'm not
thank
sure how
God.
Chief Scott felt.
Yeah, I felt exactly when he got it, so I'd been around.
Plus, we still had the Chief Burns that was online with PSTA to help both of us transition to our positions. So, one thing that I hear out in the field, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, I don't think I'm wrong, is people say, what's going on? I can't keep up. And is that something that you hear?
Yeah. For more specific things, I guess more so for these initiatives, kind of all came at providers all at once.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely a point of contention in the field. Some are easier to understand than others, but we'll get into that as we go along. So
if I can just have slide number 11 up there. So just since I've taken over on July 1st, these are all the CPGs that I've pushed out that were already getting ready to start, and these are the ones that I pushed out. And this certainly created quite a little bit of a storm out in the field, and it's totally understandable. Quite frankly, I'm glad I send these emails from a very secured building. So, but keep in mind that all these things that have been pushed out, these were not done over the course of a weekend. These were long-standing, finding out real quick, and Tony can attest to this, all of these CPGs and all of these other documents take months.
Yes.
To develop.
Yeah.
You've assisted with a lot more than I have.
I would say a lot more. I think I did like one of those up there, but
That's one more than me then.
that's true. Yeah, no, but so for example, right, that 24-07, the removing the KED, which hopefully you guys all like that.
Yes.
That was something that got put on my plate when I first got into the office, and that didn't get pushed out till probably like August, right? Mm-hmm. So it is months of making sure we have this, making sure that the idea is sound, that it's going to work, that it is founded with really good medicine, really good science, and also that it also supports the personnel out in the field. And it's not a start it on Monday, have it out by Friday type deal. Like, these things are weeks to months in the making before they get pushed out to the personnel in the field.
And I can be honest, all the meetings that I'm involved in, every single one of these meetings is, how does this impact the field, positively and negatively? So, I'm glad when I come out into the field and make my rounds whenever I can and work as a chief officer somewhere, people talk. And I'm glad it's respectful conversation, but also I do want to hear it. Yeah. I certainly don't want anybody talking nice to my face and walking back and say, yeah, he doesn't know. He's lost his touch with the field. Yeah. And I don't want that ever to happen. So I'm glad people are communicating. Some of the other new initiatives that we come out, I think slide number 5, although it's not necessarily a new initiative, maybe not everybody has seen our point-of-care ultrasound. And our point-of-care ultrasound is all done by the EMS duty officers. We do them on cardiac arrest, and it's done with a wand and an iPad. And we're able to do ultrasounds on all cardiac arrests in which you have some form of rhythm, but not a pulse. And we use this to see if we have carotid flow. And have you experienced the point-of-care ultrasound?
I have 2 calls, only 2 calls, one of which was a confirmed termination resuscitation, and then one confirmed still actual blood movement we end up transporting.
Okay.
So actually, yeah, really cool technology. I wasn't expecting to see it. I think it was still getting demoed at the time when I saw it. But it was
you
really cool.
You were at 32.
I was at 32, so I was seeing it, and I was looking at it, I was like, oh, that's actually, and it really delineates where the jugular and the shows.
So really cool technology, and we've seen a lot of things come of it. For years, actually all the way up until I became a battalion chief, I ran calls, and people were like, what's that? And I want to make sure that everybody has seen it and what it's designed to do. For years, we really just to see if we had carotid flow, and we really didn't have a means to do a termination of resuscitation with it. And just recently, we added point-of-care ultrasound to use as a TOR tool. So if we go 30 minutes and the person still has some form of rhythm but not a pulse, we're allowed to terminate based upon no carotid flow. So that's just done by the duty officers. That's not done by field personnel. So although it's relatively new, it definitely impacts the call. Another one that came up recently was the IV pumps. I think we talked about it just before this session, and maybe you can start bringing up the questions that we've had. I believe we had, there you go. So over the past, okay, when did we start the IV pumps? It's been probably 2 years?
Yeah, about that, yeah.
Maybe?
I would say started demoing, and then obviously it's fully implemented in the field now, but it's, yeah, it's definitely.
What are you hearing?
Go ahead.
It came out too quick. How the heck do you use this thing? Other expletives, of course, along with
that we're not allowed to say.
That we're not allowed to say on. I don't know how they expect me to use this thing. I've got too much going on already, and I can understand that for sure. It takes practice. It's definitely, you have to use it more instead of just watching the videos that were put out. Unless you actually go through, and there's some station I go to where they're like, I'll use it if I have to. Some people just don't use it. And then others actually take the time to actually bring it out, work with it. I've seen it I can turn it on for you. That's about all I can do. But no, that would probably be the biggest point of contention. The fact that they want you to, I'm assuming any drug that is administered, they kind of want you to go through this pump. So some patients require 2. That requires a second ALS provider. I don't know if there's plans in the future to get maybe 2 pumps in service per ALS resource. I'm not quite sure, but that would take away some of the cussing and and maybe a little more. I think it just takes time.
Sure.
At the end of the day,
Yes.
I think what they wanted more was just a little more time to implement and to orient themselves to it and to actually have the time before it just goes live, which it was, but again, you never have enough time at the end of the day.
And we all know change is difficult.
Yeah, and I have to say, I have heard some positive feedback, right? As I've been working overtime and gotten detail overtime medics and stuff like that. I think I had them, at least at my lineups, I had, afterwards, I had it pulled out twice. Once because I hadn't seen the thing after they did the training. It was like right when I came back into the field for my detail, and then, so I hadn't seen it yet. I wanted to see it. And then another time, I think we had somebody else that hadn't seen it or something like that. So we had a detail medic bring it out, and we were asking about it, and they're like, oh, no, I kind of like it. Like, oh, man, I had this thing's a nightmare. Like, he's a newer medic. Like, he's like, No, I kind of like it. You know, it makes the XYZ medication administration easier and whatever. And I said I think he was either a newer medic or a brand new medic, but I don't know if that had something to do with it. Maybe he was exposed to it right away, and that's what he knew. And so I think as it goes on, like anything else, but I have heard some positive feedback that it makes certain things easier and everything else. It's not all negative. So.
Good.
I know things have evolved over the past 2 years since we implemented the IV pumps. I certainly heard it when it all came out, and it kind of went. We started going towards the path of IV pumps because of a certain medication. IV nitroglycerin needs to be so precise that we need to have a pump. And rather than just having the clinicians use it that one time a year, it was better to, on every call, every medication, even lactated ringers, to utilize it. This way, that one call where the person is in their most critical state before they go into cardiac arrest, that's the time we're training on the IV pumps. Lieutenant Tipton has done a phenomenal job with this program. He's certainly heard about all the alarms and all this kind of stuff, reprogrammed them so that it's as user-friendly for the field personnel. And I hope they're seeing that. If I can just go quickly to slide number 8, iGels. iGels is probably one of our newest things out there. Before this year, I never really heard us going to iGel. But the reason that we did was because the pediatric king tubes were not FDA approved. And so rather than have our clinicians operate with 2 different devices, let's go to one device for everybody. So we initially pulled off all the king tubes and then all the pediatric ones. And then if you don't know what that is, instead of intubating, it's just a supraglottic airway. So rather than having us operate with 2 different devices, one device for everything. I've seen a lot of positivity with this. It's very quick. It's a set it and forget it type ordeal. Have you seen it utilized there?
One time, real simple, real quick, no complaints.
Yep.
No complaints.
And quite frankly, the ALS clinician can go straight to an iGel if they wanted to. It doesn't necessarily have to be an intubation. It is considered an advanced airway, and they're allowed to use it no matter what.
Is it your to start with an intubation, attempt an intubation, and then go to that, or is that like whatever the provider decides at the time?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
For me, it just varies based off of patient to patient, right? I'm gonna make that actual call based off of whatever I am seeing clinically as the medic. So I just flip a coin some days.
So yeah, I mean, the CPG is pretty clear on that. We're not going to dictate which one the ALS clinician chooses. If they choose the iGel, you choose the iGel. If you choose to intubate, you intubate. I'm an intubation fan if it's my mother, but at the same time, we also know this iGel is very effective, and we've had a lot of positivity with it, including ROSCs, just similar to the intubation. So no, it's up to that ALS clinician's experience and education on all that. Probably the most exciting thing that's come out of the past 2 months is our whole blood program. I think it's
I got it.
slide number 9.
You want the numbers?
So, I'm not sure if, I guess not everybody. Back on August 8th, I think it was.
August 8th.
August 8th, we went live with our whole blood program. We are one of only, I think, 175 jurisdictions in the country that has whole blood in the field. And it is exciting. It really is. 2 years ago, I'm sure anybody listening to this, I told clinicians we're not going to that, but I'm excited to see it happen. And this is truly a game changer.
Oh yeah.
If you don't know this, there's not a single hospital in the county that has whole blood, including suburban. They use plasma and things like that. And so we're the only one in the county that has whole blood. Reason being is because it has such a short life. And we need to use it pretty quickly. Yeah. So, Tony, if you
guys
want to
are doing So real quick, you guys are doing an outstanding job out in the field with this stuff. We've given 20 units to 19 patients. That's as of Sunday night. So every single patient that we give blood to, we also look at what's called their shock index pre and post blood. Anything over 1's can considered not great. The higher it goes, the like CircuR, we have an average shock index prior to blood of 1.5, so that's pretty darn sick patients. After blood, we have an average of like 0.9. So we have an average change of 40% improvement in their shock index just after a single unit of like blood. Predominantly, so out of 19 patients, we've given 13 of them to like trauma patients, mostly shootings and stabbings and like few PICs. However, some of the really, really good like cases have been medical patients, GI bleeds, U bleeds, ulcers, stuff like that. The actual people in the field using this blood, recognizing it early on, calling out for that duty officer has been absolutely fantastic. This is a huge, huge game changer for our patient populations. Like, you guys are absolutely crushing it out there.
Have you had the opportunity to see it in play yet?
Not in play, but I've heard great things. I think the last one you're talking about is 19 C shift.
Very good case.
Was a traumatic in nature.
Yes.
And they called for it right away. The EMS officer came, and I'm not sure how that panned out. I hope it was a positive outcome. But that's what it's for. And it's I was at Station 4 a couple weeks ago, and they bought the whole kit by the EMS duty officer there that time. And it's really cool. It's, cooler, 2 packs of blood, kind of some weird equipment, but really cool stuff. I mean, definitely going to give more positive outcomes in patients with blood loss for sure. That's something that I don't think shouldn't go away. Should stay.
It's not.
Should
That's not going anywhere.
If I can quote Dr. Stone, it's basically the Narcan of massive hemorrhage. People go from, I read one report recently in which the person was in and out of consciousness. I think it was more of a GI issue, and gave the blood, and they were talking and all that kind of stuff. So really, really good outcomes with this. So we were expecting 40 in a year, and we've already gone through 20 units in 2 months.
Yeah.
So very impressive. The way the kind of process works is that we get it from Suburban. Suburban gets it from Inova. And then every 2 weeks, we have to rotate it through the duty officers. So every other Saturday, the duty officers go down to Suburban, there's a process, switch it over, and we get new blood. And then Inova can use it for the last, I think whole blood only has like a 4 to 6 week time frame that has to be utilized.
kept at a certain temperature.
Yes,
Yeah.
has to be kept at a certain temperature. We have a blood cooler, keeps it between the degrees of 2 and 6, and so that it doesn't go bad. So very, very cool stuff that we're doing here.
Awesome. I think I know the answer already, but just to benefit everybody, make sure everybody knows. So you're on a BLS transport unit, you run that skilled nursing facility patient that turns into a massive GI bleed, and that's why they're presenting with whatever they're presenting. Can that BLS unit ask for a whole, obviously you're going to end up, it's presenting as an ALS patient. I can't think of a scenario where it wouldn't, but can you also ask for ALS and whole blood, or do you have to wait for the medic to get there to ask for it?
Oh, no, they can absolutely ask for it right off the bat.
Awesome.
In fact, I think, if I remember correctly, we
We've
had
had a couple of
unit
those
in
now.
24.
Yeah.
Ran a skilled nursing facility. It was a BLS unit, and they called for, I think that was Mark Grant.
It was.
Obviously, I recommend contacting ALS and getting EMSDO for blood.
Would that be a future dispatch? Say if a BLS unit calls for whole blood, would that be an automatic ALS, possibly a AFRA or something like that, or a medic unit?
We discussed that.
Yeah, I don't know. Not a bad idea. We could probably work with ECC to figure out a dispatching process to speed that up a little bit. But in like terms of actually pushing out the coolers and the blood to every ALS unit.
I know that's probably.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see that happen, but I don't think that's not anytime soon.
Well, and completely unrelated to ALS too, just a shout out to, I think, the great job of the people at ECC do. A positive of having uniformed people behind the radio all the time is if I'm a BLS unit and I ask for whole blood, chances are the person under that radio is either a medic or pretty in tune to what's going on, and they're going to be like, okay, we'll start you the EMSDO officer for whole blood. You want an ALS unit? Close to ALS
Bring a
units.
lot to the
Your
table,
paramedic engine from court. So that's again part of why I think our system is so successful and works so well is because we have things like that people might take for granted if they've never been somewhere else or. So I think that's another excellent resource too that would help in that scenario.
Yep.
Historically, we've always been so used to just let's load the patient up as fast as we possibly can and let's beat feet to the hospital, right?
Diesel treatment.
Diesel treatment, we call it, yep. And this is an area that you really don't want to mess around with. We have in DC, I've heard of cases where they're actually giving whole blood in the parking lot of the hospital.
That was amazing to me to hear that they use it, knowing how many hospital resources they have. Right, some of the best trauma centers in the country, right? Or at least right there. And it's like they're giving whole blood a lot. You know, they deal with penetrating trauma and everything else, but like they're giving it a lot and it's successful a lot. And it's like, wow, even that short amount of time makes a huge difference.
So this is definitely something that you would want to call for the duty officer early and meet up with them, rendezvous or whatever, because the time frame it takes for even to get to the hospital and get any form of blood is going to be some time.
Yes, much longer than anything MCF Rescue provide. Hey, I'm just going to jump in here real quick. I see Dr. Stone in the background prompting me to say it, right? So, right, guys, so I know back when I was first trained 21 years ago or whatever, it was load and go for your really, really sick patients and just beat feet to the hospital, get the hell out of here. That mentality has definitely changed. And a lot of that stems from the science, the advances of the medical profession. And that's been a pretty hard change, I think, for most of us that have been around for quite some time, right? It was just always load, go, deliver them to the medicine. However, as we've now learned and advanced, we as a healthcare provider, which is what all of us are, right? We as a healthcare system have now really, really progressed from being Uber to being DoorDash, all right? Back in the day, we were all Uber. Uber Eats doesn't count for anyone that's watching.
Came up in a meeting yesterday.
Yeah, right. Back in the day, the Ambulance 704, Medic 731, we were all Ubers. We would just simply show up, pick up the patient, put them in, deliver them straight off to the hospital, straight off to the medical care. We're now DoorDash. We are now delivering high quality medicine to the patient. There is no rush for virtually any patient that we have, sort of strokes, STEMIs, anyone that needs a truly time sensitive intervention.
Basically, they need
at
surgery.
the hospital.
They need some kind of invasive.
Yeah, right. Anything short of that, we can have a huge impact on the scene while we are in a nice, stable, environment, right? Right? We are now delivering high-quality medicine to the patient, especially for critically unstable patients, sick patients. It's infinitely better for the patient. It's infinitely better for us to just stay on scene for the extra 5 or 10 minutes, stabilize them to our very best skills, and then from there start the transport to the hospital. You guys are all DoorDash. We're not Uber anymore.
Lieutenant, have you seen situations like that? I certainly see from my level that things are changing. What do you see out in the field regarding very unstable patient? Are we moving fast? Are we hanging tight? What are you seeing?
Well, back to Chief Scott's point, we have definitely slowed down. There's some providers who are still stuck in that old mindset of let's do what we can really, really fast and get them in the unit and go. And there are occasions for that, like you pointed out. But for the most part, your cardiac arrests, your more some of your trouble breathings, where you need to sit there and you need to let's start them breathing first, and then maybe we'll move them. So that's changed for sure. It's no longer just load and go. It's definitely more trending towards the stay and play, I guess we call it now.
I know Captain Wagner has told me that 10% of our cardiac arrests all come after our arrival. And I'm not saying it's anything that we're doing, but certainly there are situations we've seen that maybe they could have sat and played and helped treat the patient first. The worst time you want someone to go into cardiac arrest is when you bring them down the stairs, and that's what happens. And we know people are doing phenomenal work. We read the EMS reports, so we see the great work that people are doing. And it's not a sales pitch to anybody out in the field. So that's good to hear. I know it took me, I was in that old mentality of load and go. It took me a good solid 5 years as a duty officer before I learned, let's sit and play for a couple minutes. And we're very competent providers. So I have a couple more things to bring up, but I also want to hear from Lieutenant Jeffrey about anything else that you hear out in the field. That we haven't already discussed or anything like that.
I mean, your typical people typically aren't happy with QA, QI. That's the normal. That's probably the biggest one. It's when it comes to that, they're they're not too fond of running calls and then getting an email sometimes it's almost instantaneously from when they click a couple minutes
Post.
after they post it and they're getting something. Sometimes it's, the next day, and you have a job too. You're, Captain Grossman and Wagner have a job to do, so that's their job. I just think some people think they're doing more wrong than what they're doing right. Sometimes the emails aren't necessarily a productive email. It's more like you kind of did this when you should have done this.
Okay.
It can be taken. It's who the recipient is, right? It could be taken very well. It could be taken. I've heard both sides.
Sure.
I've heard both sides, and it's. I guess you just have to take it as it comes.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, right. So
I think that's your office.
it's my office. Right? Thanks. First off, thank you very much for letting us know the field perspective. The number one thing about QA is it's never ever personal. QA is all about the process, right? Right. We actually handle every single QA from a process standpoint the actual exact same way, whether it's me doing it or whether it's me working overtime and I do something different. If I get QA'd, it's the exact same process as if
We're not
it's that
exempt.
brand new Fire One medic, right? QA is all about education. QA is all about making sure all of our clinicians have the knowledge, skills, abilities to be out there providing the highest level medicine that we can. We actually are very fortunate. The vast majority of our QAs are more or less just tweaking or just providing a little bit knowledge for the next patient. We do not have fundamental gaps. We don't have foundational issues. We are a very high performing system, and it's not because of me or Pete or Zach or Nick. It's because of everyone out there providing that high level of actual care, right? QA is about making sure we can elevate that patient care and to make sure that we can provide the patient with the overall best outcomes. Like I said, QA is never personal. The vast majority of it, back when I was the QAO, when I was captain, and even now as I supervise my two really good QA and QIO guys, the vast majority of the time, the actual reason we are reaching out is because we were reading through the report and something just didn't make sense. We just didn't understand something. Therefore, we just need a little bit of extra clarification as to what happened. And a lot of the time, that's all we need. Sometimes we will have some additional feedback, overall great job, just something to think about for the next patient that you see here presenting like this. But it's never personal. It's never us coming out to take away someone's birthday, take away someone's job. That's not what we do. Our job is all about education.
And that process comes directly from Comar. So it is a regulated process, and I'm involved in these meetings now. I can tell you, I don't want that email that says you've been QA'd. I don't want that either. The biggest thing that I've learned over the years is just sit back for a second, read it, and then respond appropriately. The one thing that I can say about getting that email or phone call right after the hit post, the one impressive thing with the technology we have nowadays is that we're able to capture those clinicians right live while that thing's still in their brain, instead of 2 to 3 weeks later that we used to have, because when it took the reports to come out. Right. But now we're getting them as you post. Certain triggers do hit, and those are things that I find very impressive. Is just a quick phone call by the QA officer saying, "Hey, this is what happened." Might just be a clarification. So yes, I can understand how frustrating it is. You push post, you've done all this stuff to this patient, and then now you got a phone call or an email.
Yeah.
And I recognize how frustrating that is, but at the same time, we are capturing the clinicians live right after they transfer this patient. So
I think it's just like anything. It's just like running a fire call, whatever it is, right? Like none of us come to work and be like, man, I really want to mess up today.
No.
You know what I don't want to do less perfect than I could have.
I really want this constructive criticism.
And we're all hard on ourselves, right? So chances are, most of the time, the person who just ran that call is like, man, maybe I could have done this, maybe I could have done that. As bing, like you should have done. It's like, you know what I mean? So I get it, right? It's not like you said, it's not personal, but of course.
we can get slide 4 on the screen real quick.
Chief, sorry, do you have a question in the chat? Or was it?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's on your topic list.
Do you want to hold it, or is it related to that, or do you want to?
It's not related.
Okay.
Okay, let's do a couple more lines, and then we'll finish off with.
Yeah, we'll just hold it for 2 more minutes. We'll get to it.
Okay.
Go ahead, Chief.
On a finalized for QA stuff, because of course that can be an entire challenge in the streets. If I can get slide number, yeah, there we go. So this is a report of how many calls over the years that we're running. This year alone, we are at 77,000 EMS dispatches. You can tell how it's trending. Everybody talks a lot about QA, and it is frustrating. How many of those 77,000 would you say is QA'd?
That's the correct. That's 77,000 transports.
Transports. I'm sorry.
114,000.
114,000
patient
dispatches
right?
and 77,000.
Out of the 114,000 that we run, we actually probably look at 3%, and out of those, probably 1% total are an actual QA in like query. Mm-hmm. So overall, we do an outstanding job, right? We just don't look at every single call. I would like to be able to look at more, not because we are trying to provide more constructive feedback, just because putting on my QI hat, what else can the system do to be out here better serving our patient population? Mm-hmm. Right.
So really impressive stuff what we're doing. You could tell back in 2020 there was a bit of a dip, and now we're going back up, and it's not going down any day.
No.
So everybody sees the surges. Everybody sees. Sometimes we have to take towers out of service so we can upgrade an ambulance or whatever. So, but this is it's a true testament of what we are doing every day. Not to move too much, but if I can go to slide number 13. I watch a little bit. I think we all watch a little bit of news, and it's usually 29 minutes of negativity out in the world, and that final minute is usually some form of feel-good stories. So every EMED report is we are required to at least try to get a phone number from the patient, and when that patient gets transported to the hospital or not, they get a text message to rate on how we did as clinicians out in the field. The biggest thing you can take from here is we are doing nothing but great stuff.
Yes.
99.9% is 5s and above. 5s, because there's no more above. I don't even think Disney has that kind of.
We are by far the highest rated county agency. Our actual patients love us. Mm-hmm. Right. 4.7, 4.8, almost 4.9. You guys are doing outstanding work. You guys are the officers, your actual crews. You guys are doing a very, very good job.
And with every one of those, I know Captain Wagner is calling every one of these people that do have a feedback, especially if they want somebody to contact them. And we all know what we hear out in the field is, can't they send something out positive? I know Captain Wagner is sending out, 80 to 90 a week?
I've gotten a bunch of them.
Every
for
Monday.
my providers I work for,
Yeah, first thing Monday morning, Captain Wagner's sending out usually 80 to 100 positive attaboy emails.
Mm-hmm. So things are happening. Yeah. We're doing great stuff, and just want to see that continue. So I really can't think of anything. It's like our fire chief just said, I can't really think of anything that we need to change. So
not the system.
Continue to improve.
Only thing I would add here, just here piggybacking off of the QA question, documentation. We can always do better at documentation. Kind of my little pearls of wisdom for people, because I sit here and I read reports all day long. So I guess two absolutely right. The actual auto-generated narrative is a good tool. It should not be your whole PCR. There are things we have to add to it, like how did you find the patient? What did you do for the patient? How did the patient respond to the treatment? That auto generate narrative is a useful tool for like our really, really basic patients, but it should not be your whole PCR. There should be other stuff written. Dovetailing off of that one, writing the narrative doesn't have to be a like recitation of all the other boxes you guys have like filled out previously, right? For that narrative, write it as if you are telling the story of this incident, of like this patient, to a person that was not there. I know that is a fairly challenging thing to do sometimes, just because all of us were just like here for the last hour interacting with the patient. Everything makes like sense in our head. It just doesn't always come out on the keyboard. Slow down, take an extra 5 or 10 minutes, document that story as if you are telling it to a person that was not there.
Don't take anything that happened for granted.
Don't take anything happen for like granted. That'll also help you not necessarily get the emails from like Captain Grossman, Lieutenant Tipton, or any of our other like assistant QAOs, just because we hopefully won't need any more clarification on the patient just because of the quality of your narrative.
I know there's a lot of frustrations over the years, that whole auto-generate. It was on, it was off, it's back on. None of us up at headquarters want to take things away.
Right.
We do see areas that we can improve out in the field, and the auto-generate is a good tool. Just it's definitely helpful to have a little more meat to that particular narrative.
All right, Chief, you want to make sure we get to that question?
Yeah, definitely want to make sure we hear from everybody else.
Yeah, one question. I'm not sure if this is for you or for the apparatus division, but the question is, can you advise on the status of the new transport units being delivered, specifically those going to units that are still using manual cuts?
So yeah, I can actually answer that. Just last week, we were in a team went up to New Jersey to inspect ambulances.
The great state of
New Jersey. And that process is as exciting as it sounds, but I can respect the process. That's what I found very interesting. The amount of time and effort that goes into building out an ambulance. I'm thank God I'm not on the tiller truck inspections. But yes, so up at New Jersey, in fact, actually, they're in the county now. Ambulance 712 and Medic 712 have been delivered to the county, I believe. Just inspected Ambulance 722 and Ambulance 734. I did see Medic 701. That's completely torn apart right now. The new Medic 701. So that's going to be a little bit of time. And I saw a BCC unit, a Wheaton unit, and all that kind of good stuff.
Nice.
They're all coming with the power load. I did ask Chief Bush about the whether or not we're going to retrofit all of that older ambulances, and it doesn't seem like we're going to go down that path.
Yeah, I think we actually talked about that in one of the the Wheel in the Rig episodes or something. Somehow it came up with Chief Bush, and that conversation became cost prohibitive. It was assured that every new unit is going to have power load and power cots. So awesome. Anything else on the chat line there, Chief? All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up. Just you guys have any last points or anything else you want to relay as we have our wrap up here? Chief, just kind of go around the horn. You got anything else?
I really don't. I'd say I just wanted to really quick say thank you guys to all of the outstanding work you guys do. It is very much appreciated, especially on the second floor and also by our patients.
Echoing again, yes, I appreciate the great work that people are doing. I always knew people were. But to see it from a much higher level now has been very impressive. Also, I appreciate the conversations that people have with me. I want to continue that. I would love to be out in the field more. It is my goal to be seen more in my position. But Cap Wagner had to remind me that I have 1,500 square miles to deal with. So I'm making every effort I possibly can.
Just because you work in headquarters, you're a real person.
So yes, I appreciate everything everybody's doing, and keep up the great work.
Thank you. Ben?
Nope, I think I berated you guys enough. So, no, well said, well done.
All right, well, thank you guys very much for your time. I know it's precious, so thanks for joining us and relaying that information out to everybody in the field.
Thank you.
Just to wrap up for everybody out there, again, thanks for watching. So our next episode is probably going to air sometime in November. We're working on getting a Metro episode together. There's going to be some new Metro equipment delivered to the field, new Metro maps, things like that. So we're going to have a challenge in the streets that's somewhat related to that, somewhat related to Metro operations with some of our rail officers and some other subject matter experts. That's coming down the pipe along with a couple other ideas, and we'll advertise those as soon as we have dates. So again, thanks for watching and have a good rest of your day.